What is up, girl bosses? We have new of Sulfur. This is Befouler featuring Alex Terrible of Slaughter to Prevail. Wow, I blanked on that for a second. But of Sulfur, they've been slaying with these past few singles. I think we have like 4. Is this the 5th? I don't know. It feels like we've been getting a lot of tracks from of Sulfur. It seems to be the kind of like meta with albums now, like release a lot of singles. But this album, The Burden of Faith, comes out March 24th. I'm pretty hyped for it because, like I said, they've been slaying. Their last track, Earthen, a very, very emotional track that had some nice like 2nd generation or even 3rd generation black metal influence. Really, really cool stuff. But that being said, I say we get into it. Before we do, would really appreciate if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel. It's free, helps stand a ton, helps you find new music. Also in the description down below, you can find links to all my social media as well as my project Sunscourge. You heard it in the intro. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh. It's been great to hear more cleans from Ricky. It's very nice because usually it's Chase. I think some of this imagery is from the other music videos. I feel like I saw the Stained and Rot guy. We haven't had Alex the Terrible come in yet. Did I just say Alex the Terrible? Long day. There he is. Oh. They even got the mask. Are they gonna go back into it? Nah, we're done. I get cucked. That's not the right word. I get faked out like all the time. All the time. I always fall for it. I always fall for the fake out. But I feel like this is a really cool track. It was interesting because like the chorus And the way those cleans were and the general structure of it made it feel almost like a little metalcore leading up to the breakdown. Then we got we got some crazy stuff for the breakdown. I do appreciate the addition of bends. I feel like they've never done bends in their breakdowns before, or at least not as prominently as they did there. So it was really cool to see that sort of variation. Really cool. They kind of just handed that off to Alex Terrible. He was entirely on that breakdown. So it was like nice to have a pretty like consistently structured song leading up to the breakdown, switches it up, right? Age-old formula, but really cool when the parts are different, right? So we got that with a sort of like blackened deathcore, but also with cleans, and then your more traditional deathcore breakdown. It's nice. It's like sort of a novel fitting of parts that have kind of been done before by Of Sulfur, but with like respective nuance. Like, because for the band, like breakdown with bends, very different. You know, cleans, that's not exactly newer in their repertoire, but like Ricky's clean specifically. So hearing that was really cool, because it was nice back and forth going from, you know, the verses into cleans. Normally, I feel like when I hear, you know, unclean vocals with cleans, and I feel like they're not contrasting too much, where they are transitioned well, usually that airs on the side of, you know, the deathcore, the metal things. Usually the like sort of deathcore instrumentals are still going. Usually there's like sort of a back and forth with like the gutturals and the cleans. But here I felt like the verses kind of felt more in line with the cleans than the clean. Let me pause, think a bit. The verse sections didn't feel like so insanely heavy that the cleans felt so insanely not heavy. It's more like we had a more mild verses, because like Of Sulfur has historically done in this album cycle. They're you know, kind of exploring those sort of later black metal influences, and I feel like their ratio of like black metal to deathcore in their specific breed of black and deathcore has way more black metal than some other black and deathcore bands will do. Some other black and deathcore bands will just have like symphonic elements and nothing else. I feel like Of Sulfur, they got the structure and they got the riffing, they got the influence, they got the vocals. Like it's pretty in line. So those transitions into cleans, it's not just like super brutal breakdown moment. Right? We got like just sort of that black metal melody, then into cleans. It makes a lot of sense. So then to switch it up at the end with that more traditional deathcore breakdown, it resolves it quite nicely. I still feel like this isn't like my favorite song of the cycle. I feel like Earthen is still like way up there. If that's not number one, it's probably Stained and Rot. But like, I feel like this is another single that's knocked it out of the park. Just like really cool stuff. All of these singles have been extremely novel, which I do appreciate. You know, we kind of need it. I know everyone's like, well, now that Learn is big, everyone's going to be doing black and deathcore. But I feel like what people have failed to realize thus far is that there is a lot of opportunity for black metal influence to sort of permeate other metal genres, just because black metal has a very rich history. Some of it not great, some of it a little white supremacist, but you know, there's some really cool stuff. You know, everyone's like, oh, Mayhem, Dark Funeral influence. That's what black and insert genre it's fused into is. But you know, you got stuff like Behemoth, you got Cradle of Filth, you got Ulver. Anyone remember Ulver? You got Opeth. There's a lot of cool influences to really tie in. And then there's also these sort of fusion genres that black metal has already been fused with, like sort of what is it, like gothic metal has black metal influence plus like gothic rock influence. So there is a lot of opportunity that I feel like that hasn't been explored. And I feel like out of the bands out there, Of Sulfur has sort of entered that novel territory in black and deathcore the most. I don't think any other band has like taken those like later or more diverse or lesser known black metal bands and used that influence and integrated it into their respective genres. So I really feel like Of Sulfur has been very consistent about that, and that's like one of the reasons why I'm really hyped for this album, because it's giving Cradle of Filth. But like not in a way where it's just a Cradle of Filth copy paste. You know, there's a lot of novelty to it. It's still coming from deathcore roots. It's really good stuff.